Hello students, welcome to today's English class. Today we'll be exploring the second poem of your textbook Fire and Ice composed by Robert Frost. Dear students, this is one of the most popular poems composed by Robert Frost ever. This poem speaks about the ending of the world, the possible ending of the world, as ultimately whatever has been created is to die, whatever has been created is to perish. So the world is going to perish one day or the other, and there are many theories prevailing in the entire world that how will this world will end finally. This is a beautifully composed poem. This also speaks about an idea that we human beings let our emotions rule us. We just give so much, authority, so much power to our emotions that our emotions start ruling us. And if we do not control our emotions, they'll surely destroy everything around us. Our emotions, if left unbridled, our emotions, if left uncurtailed, our emotions, if left, let me bring it back, let me just switch off my internet so that no messages pop up. Sorry for inconvenience. Yeah, our emotions, if left uncontrolled, they have an extreme destructive power. So we need to control our emotions. Fine, control our negative emotions. So let's start the poem. Fire and ice, as you know, these are the two elements. These are two objects, you can say. Fire and ice, you are familiar with. Fire and ice, these two words are the symbols of certain emotions here. Fire is the symbol of desires, human desires. So, fire in this poem refer to desires, and ice refers to hatred. Ice refers to hatred. So, the poem speaks about fiery desires and icy hatred. Fine. So let's explore the poem. Some say the world will end in fire, some say in ice. In these two lines, the poet is telling about the opinion of some of the people. There are some people in the world who believe that this world one day will end because of fire. It will end in fire. Means the earth, the inside of the earth will become so hot uh, that heat will be unbearable for the human beings to bear, and existence of humanity on this planet will be impossible. So heat is going to be the reason of the elimination of life from this planet. Or some say that temperature of the earth will become so low that there'll be ice around, and human body won't be able to bear that temperature, and humans will perish from this planet. The very reason of human beings existence on this planet earth is that it matches the temperature that is required to survive. So if the temperature either rises to an exponential growth that is unbearable for the humanity, or if it falls to such an extent that it is unbearable to the humanity, in both ways, survival of human beings on this planet won't be feasible. So there are two philosophies, there are two kinds of opinions floating in the minds of the people. One opinion, one kind of people say that the world will end in fire, while others say the world will end in ice. From what I have tasted of desire. Now the poet is telling about his own opinion, his own experience. He says throughout his life, whatever he experienced of human desires, his experiences with human desires give him a belief, I hold, with those who favor fire. So he would like to stand with those people who say that world will end in fire. their opinion seems to be stronger to the poet than the opinion of those who say that world will end in ice. And desire here refers to fire here refers to the icy desires of human beings. Human beings, as you know, they are the slaves of desires, and sometimes human beings' desires start dominating them, and in order to fulfill their desires, they can go to any extent. They can compromise with their morality, they can compromise with their peace of mind, they can even wage wars, they can invite any kind of hostility. So the poet believes that human desires, if are not controlled by the human beings, if human desires are left uncontrolled, if they are left unbridled, they have extreme destructing powers. So human beings need to control their desires. Fine. Since, as they say, the earth has enough for a man's needs, but it doesn't have enough for a man's greed. So, desires have no limits. We need to control, we need to curtail, we need to bridle our superfluous desires, our useless desires, because desires are as destructive as inferno is, as fire is. It can burn us down into ashes, it can ruin us completely. Moving on to the next stanza. But if it had to perish twice, now the poet says, if earth, if humanity, if world had to perish twice, if there were two options for the earth to end, if there were two occasions for the earth to finish, if it had to perish twice, perish here means destroy, die. I think I know of enough of hate. The poet says he has had enough experience of hatred amongst the people in his life to say that destruction, for destruction, ice is also great. Then he says that even ice has the potential of destroying the planet. The first probability, that is the stronger probability, is dying of earth because of fire, means human desires. And second, if there were two chances, if there were two occasions for the earth to die, if earth were to perish twice, then hatred is no less stronger than the desires. He has experienced hatred as well. He has found hatred in the hearts of human beings to be equally destructive. You know, when hatred grows in our heart, we don't have any senses left. Our hatred starts dominating us. The one thing that leads us is the hatred towards the person. We just take all the decisions on the basis of that hatred. We just don't apply our senses, our judiciousness, our wisdom, our intellect doesn't doesn't work properly, doesn't function properly. We become blind in our hatred, and we can stoop to any level to cause harm to our antagonist, to cause harm to our enemy, to cause harm to the person we hate. Or in the broader perspective, a nation that hates the other nation can go to any extent to cause destruction to that nation. A religion that hates the other religion, the people belonging to that religion, can stoop to any level to cause them. That's why there are communal riots, that's why there are wars between the country, that's why there are scuffles between the people. Hatred is one of the reasons of that. To say that for destruction ice is also great, so icy hatred is no less stronger and no less destructive, and would suffice. Even that would be sufficient. Hatred would also be sufficient to perish the world. Fine. Actually, he wants to say, though fire icy desires are rapid source of instruction. They are the rapid tools of instructions. But you know, this icy hatred is also going to be a silent killer. It is also destructive. Though it destroys silently, its speed is far less in comparison to the desires, fiery desires, but it is also catastrophic. It is also destructive. It is also disastrous. So both fire and ice have the competency in bringing the world to a catastrophic end. So this is the poet's belief. He just wants human beings to let their emotions not rule them. They should control their emotions, since emotions, exaggerated emotions, emotions when they are left uncontrolled, emotions when they are left unbridled, they start dominating human mind, and they just ruin human mind. They don't let human minds apply its wisdom, and it becomes the cause of their ultimate destruction. It wreaks havoc upon them, and the world is going to get perished if emotions are left unbridled. So I hope you have understood this poem. Now let's discuss this poem on the parameter of literary devices. As you see that there are 8 to 9 lines you can see. So first we'll be discussing the rhyme scheme. As you know, rhyme scheme depends upon the sound of the word coming at the end of each line. So here the first line has the word fire at the end. So if we name this A, ice can be named B, desire is rhyming with fire, let it be C, fire, let it be A again, it should be A actually, and fire against is A, and twice is with ice. Hate is different, so it needs to be given C. Ice is again rhyming with ice, and so it should be, it's being repeated, so B again. Great is rhyming with the word hate, so it would be C. Suffice is rhyming with the word ice, twice and ice, so it would be B. So there are 9 lines, so we let's divide these 9 into the pairs of 3. So the rhyme scheme turns out to be A B A B C B C B. So this is the rhyme scheme of the poem, my dear students. I have explained it in its length and breadth. Hope you have got it. Moving on to the literary devices, the first literary device that is there in the first 2 lines. Let me mark it for your understanding. Yeah, this literary device is anaphora. ANAPHORA. When in a poem, two or more than two consecutive lines begin with the same word or words, that is anaphora. These 2 lines are beginning with some say, so that's why there is a figure of speech anaphora. Fine. Then there is alliteration. Alliteration word with repetition of W is there. Let's look for other instance of alliteration if we can find. Some say. Some say also is alliteration. Here is alliteration as well. Fine. Let's see if there is any other figure of speech or not. Yeah, one more is there that I explained you when I just explained the first poem to you. That is enjambment. Enjambment is a figure of speech when a line moves to the next line, fine, without any punctuation. Like you can find 2 instances of this. One is this: to say that for destruction, ice is also great. This is a single line and would suffice. These 3 lines are in fact one line, but they have been broken into 3 segments without any punctuation. Punctuation comes only at the end. After spice, Spice, so it is enjambment. And one more example is, from what I have tasted of desire, I hold with those who favor fire. This is a single line broken into two segments. So here also enjambment is there. So my dear students, this is the poem I felt like explaining to you today, and I would advise you to listen to the video attentively and reread the poem and just explore the senses of it in depth. Fine. So let's call it a day here. Thank you very much. Take a good care of yourself. Revise the poem. Keep learning.